Dear students, hope you are well by the mercy of the Almighty. I am also fine. Before getting into the details, I would like to introduce myself with you. Today, I am EBNUL HOSSAIN, Assistant Teacher in English at Police Lines School and College, BOGURA. Our today's class is designed for the students of class 10, and this class will be on English first paper, and our today's topic is dialogue writing. And you know that uh, dialogue writing contains 10 marks in your question paper. So it's a very important writing section. So you have to know how to write an ideal dialogue. And in today's class, you will have the opportunity to learn some rules of writing an ideal dialogue. And before before going to the board, I would like to discuss what is dialogue. That means what is meant by dialogue, or what do we mean by dialogue. A dialogue is a kind of conversation between two people or more people. But one thing should be noted that I have said that dialogue is a kind of conversation, but not only mere conversation, because there is a minute difference between a conversation and a dialogue. Uh, a conversation basically is held on any topic, or that means a conversation is not confined to a certain topic, but a dialogue is held usually on a specific topic. These are the major difference between the conversation and dialogue. Okay, let's get started on the board. Now at first I would like to define what is dialogue. Dialogue writing. Dialogue writing. At the very beginning, we are going to learn what is dialogue. Dialogue dialogue is a kind of conversation between two people or more people. So we can see the definition of dialogue. We can say that a dialogue is a kind of conversation, and this conversation will be held, or this conversation is held between two people or more people. It may be at least two people, or it may be held between more than two people. So this is the definition of dialogue. And before writing a dialogue, some points should be noted, or some points should be taken into consideration to write an ideal dialogue. Now I am going to point out the rules, or point out some hints which must be remembered before writing a dialogue. Points or points or hints to be remembered while writing dialogue. So now I am going to write down some points which is very necessary to build up or to develop an ideal dialogue. The first points should be noted. Language of a dialogue. Language of a dialogue should be clear, easy, vivid and lucid. This is the first points to be remembered, that the language or the words used in a dialogue or the sentences used in a dialogue should be clear and easy. So sometimes some students may use some unnecessary difficult words in the dialogue, but it should be avoided. There is no necessity of using unwanted difficult words in the dialogue, because our dialogue should be comprehensive or should be understandable. Now the second point, at the beginning a dialogue contains greetings, or addresses. This is the second point that we can say. The second point is at the beginning a dialogue contains greetings and addressing. That means when a dialogue is held between the two friends, or when the dialogue is held between a teacher and a student, or is held between the strangers, so some greetings must be used at the very beginning of writing a dialogue. It may be like hi, hello, or good morning, and like this. So greetings should be used at the very beginning of a dialogue. Now I am going to write down the third point. Now notice the third points. The language or sentences language or sentences used in a dialogue must maintain logical sequence. Logical sequence and consistency between them. So we can see the third point, that the language or the sentences used in a dialogue must contain logical sequence and consistency. The language used in the dialogue must be logical. Illogical or irrelevant sentences should be avoided, and your uses in irrelevant sentences in the dialogue will spoil the idealness of a dialogue. So the sentences used in a dialogue must maintain logical sequence and consistency between them. And now the fourth point. In a dialogue, it is usually in a dialogue, contracted from of sentences or contracted form of words is used, and where we write a dialogue, we can see that sometimes the contracted form of words. That means when we write I do not, we may write this form in a contracted way. That means I don't, I will not. Instead of will not, then we can write down in contracted form I won't. And such like that, we may use different type of contracted form of verbs, and sometimes we may contract some whole sentences. So in a dialogue, sometimes contracted form of words and sentences may be used in a dialogue. So this is the fourth point. Now I am going to the another point. The fifth point is sometimes the types of language or the motive of the speech depends on the participants in the dialogue. So we can say that sometimes the type of language or the motive of the speech, that means the what type of speech or what type of language should be used must depend on the participants in the dialogue. That means now I would like to clear it. That if the dialogue is held between the teachers and the students, then the type of language should be different. And if the language is held, if the dialogue is held between the stranger, then the language should be the different. So this is the basic difference. Now the sixth and the last points should be noted, that the dialogue should contain a colon, a punctuation colon to detach the speakers participated in the dialogue, and so this is the major points should be noted to write an ideal dialogue. The another point we may add, that is a dialogue should be ended with the thanking greetings, like that, thank you very much, goodbye, and such like that. You may use the thanking greetings at the end of a dialogue. So this is the basics and elementary ideas or elementary points that you can memorize while writing an ideal dialogue. So I think this class will be very helpful and you will get benefited from today's class, and by practicing these rules you will be able to write an ideal dialogue in your answer papers. Thank you all, and stay home, stay safe, stay blessed. See you again in the next class.